stir up the pot, speculate, right? It appears that, as Keyshawn Johnson had mentioned, that Oregon has some additional help with the game planning. Just saying. And for USC to be ranked higher than Oregon, and for them to look way more competitive during this game than the Oregon game, we all know Coach Prom and his staff made some adjustments. But let's talk about what could have possibly happened if there was no additional assistance in the game planning versus Oregon.
Let's go.
So, Dub, man, we got a lot of heat in the comments just over a
Mm-hmm.
week ago when we were talking about the recap of Oregon, Colorado, and we were talking about what could happen here in this USC Colorado game. I recall we said this game was going to be a lot more competitive than that game with Oregon, simply because USC does not have a stellar defense, a stout defense, the way that Oregon has. A lot of people doubted that. A lot of people said that they were going to stump a mud hole in Colorado. A lot of people at the beginning of the game probably thought that that was going to be a repeat of the game against Oregon. But we saw some progression. We saw Shador take the ball down and get out of the pocket, scramble, go and get first downs. I mean, he rushed for like a 40-yard touchdown on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, which was a first that
Right
we've
up the
seen while
middle.
he's been at Colorado. We saw Kermani McClain get in the game and make some big plays, and we've been waiting on that as he's a highly touted freshman, top defensive back in the country coming out of high school. We saw him get in and make some plays. We saw the emergence of Miller at receiver, a true freshman as well for Colorado. So we saw some great things coming from this game. Doug, what if anything do you take away from this game? Looking at the rest of this Pac-12 slate for the Colorado Buffaloes.
I think the only challenging game from here for Colorado will probably be Washington. I now think that Colorado can beat Utah. At the beginning of this, after the first game, I had Utah slated to beat Colorado. But after what I saw this weekend, how they rallied back in the second half, they're not a strong first half team, and they need to make the proper adjustments to ensure that they can have a more dominant first half of the game. So
Mm-hmm.
they're not playing catch up as much in the second half. They've done that since the first game of the season versus TSU.
All right.
One thing that I like to do is stir up the pot, speculate, right? It appears that, as Keyshawn Johnson had mentioned, that Oregon has some additional help with the game planning. Just saying. And for USC to be ranked higher than Oregon, and for them to look way more competitive during this game than the Oregon game, we all know Coach Prom and his staff made some adjustments. But let's talk about what could have possibly happened if there was no additional assistance in the game planning versus Oregon. I don't know. We got to think about that. We got to take all that into consideration after watching Saturday's game. And then one last thing that I want to talk about, and JT, I think I mentioned this to you even before the game. I don't like the OC play calling. I never have. I still don't like this play calling. I don't know if he'll be there for another season. I don't think he'll be there for another season. Maybe Coach Brown will keep him on staff to ensure that there's some continuity, there's something they can build off of, and have some consistency leading into the next season. But I don't think he's the right guy for the job. I don't like his play calling. I think that there's a lot more that they can do with that offense, and hopefully they can piece it together for this next game and get a W.
Yeah, a couple things from me. I think help or no help, that Oregon game was going to be what it was. Let's be honest, coaches do this. Coaches reach out to other coaches. They get tips. So when we're calling it out, this is a common practice at every level of football, right? Game planning, watching film. Sometimes I know even at the high school level, because I know a lot of guys that coach at high school who I play with. Sometimes teams will not exchange film with another team. They'll refuse to exchange film. they'll work with another team that they have a good relationship with, and they'll get film from that team. So you got to use your relationships as part of the game. I think the Oregon game goes the same way no matter what, simply because of the Colorado offensive line. As far as the rest of the season, to follow what you said, Dub, I think that there are going to be a couple tough games. I think Washington is going to be a tough game. Washington State is going to be a tough game. Really, every game from here on out is going to be a competitive, hard-fought game. I do believe that Colorado makes a bowl game. With all of that being said, so I don't
Absolutely.
know if it's 6 wins or 7 wins. I think my you know actual prediction was 7-5. Right now we're at 3-2, so that will leave room to lose 3 more games in the conference. All of these conference games are going to be tough because they're conference games, right? You're in a conference for a reason. Those teams are competitive. They're getting recruits at the similar level that you are. I think what they did in the USC game is going to bode well for not only the rest of the year and their confidence going against other teams, but it'll bode well when it comes to recruiting in the offseason. Because guys that are considering going to play at Colorado for Coach Prime are now like, this is a legitimate opportunity. I can go here. I'm the top rated defensive lineman. I can go here and make a difference. I'm gonna play immediately, and I'm playing again in the Big 12. So you're gonna have some great matchups. Colorado against Texas. Well, Texas is going to the SEC, but Colorado against some other big programs in the Big 12, Cincinnati, BYU. All of those games are going to be uber competitive when it comes down to it next year. So it's going to be interesting to see Colorado in that Big 12. But I do believe they're going to make a bowl game. I think this was just enough to get them to believe in themselves after getting blown out by Oregon. So I'm excited to see what they do the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
As always, if you like what Dub and I got here for you in the arena, give us that big one. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll be back with more from me in the arena.